I come from the land of the ice and snow, where the midnight sun and the hot springs glow. And I feel that this is not a 100% accurate representation of the place, but this is nonetheless Kona from Parabole. Parabola? I don't know how they expect it. Parabole? I don't know how they want to pronounce
Parabole,
that.
yeah.
Parabole games developed on the Unity engine, Unity 5. What is it? Northern Canada, 1970, A strange blizzard ravages Atamipek Lake, Step into the shoes of a detective to explore the eerie village, investigate surreal events, and battle the elements to survive, and make your way to Tim Hortons. Kona is a chilly narrative-driven interactive tale you won't soon forget, Yeah, and it's around 20 of your local wet, stinky currencies. It's more expensive in Canada, even though it's a Canadian game, because fuck Canada, even if you're from Canada. So let's cue the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's awesome. And we got our categories: Oh Doom, mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's kick this off. Did Kona, which I am informed is the Portuguese word for vagina, make with the working then?
Had to do that. Had to do that.
Slang word.
Had to.
No option. No way around that one. Over here on the Ubuntu 1604 LTS with an 8150 clocked at 4 gigajoules, 8 gigs of RAM, powered with a 980 displayed at UHD 3840 by 2160. Yeah, it ran chuggily. The really a big complaint I have with it is the loading system while you're driving your truck or on your snowblower can just go fuck right off. I mean, it just freezes the game for like 3 or 4 fucking seconds. And wrap your minds around this, gentlemen. It used to not be a thing until they nerfed the game to get it on the PS4 and consoles like that. Performance-wise, it's using about 45% of my 980, and it's barely touching any one of my 8 cores. But back to that performance, I am just sick and tired of developers just straight up farting out Unity ports without giving them just that little bit of TLC. Needed to run at an acceptable frame rate on Linux. It can be done, son. You just chose not to do it. So I'm going to ding you a chair for that because it's 2017, baby. 3 chairs.
Yeah, it does not run particularly well. It struggles to maintain like 55 frames a second on unacceptable settings, especially on the i7 6700K with the GTX 980 on Fedora 24. But oh my god, those loading screams. God damn, those are just you can kind of predict when they're coming, but when you're driving, you get that thought in the back of your mind that I better take my hands off the keyboard because it's going to track whatever inputs I put in. And when it finishes loading, I'm going to go drive into a tree or some shit. That is very rarely the case, but still, I feel that is to the detriment of the game. And that's pretty much it. You start it up. It gives you the Unity 5 blue screen of, I need to figure out what the hell I'm doing. And then you can get into the game. So I'll give it 3 cheers for that.
Yeah, no, nothing really kills your immersion with a game than being confronted with those freaking constant loading screens. And still, keeping that in mind, this is very much a Unity game. When you have the choice between a wide-ass open area with shit performance or a segmented area with borderline passable performance in some places, I'll take the latter. However, changing resolution doesn't seem to stick. Well, it actually changes the resolution, but even though I was going to forgive the whole loading screen thing, when you compound that with, this is an old Unity bug, where if you don't change the resolution from 960 by 540, that's what it defaults to 1080p or whatever resolution your monitor runs at, if you don't specify that before you click apply, you're looking at what looks like a very, very blocky interpretation of Canada. Well, kind of like Jordan's webcam. So yeah, you're getting dinged the chair on the FX8370E overclocked at 4.2 gigahertz and the GTX 1080 on Ubuntu Mate. 3 chairs.
What are you talking about, man? Canada is Minecraft land. You clearly been here before. That's 3 chairs for Mix with the working. Up next to Shiny and Sounds. Then did it shine? Did the glare from the snow blind you?
Hey man, this is staticky film grain affect the game. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, it definitely looks alright for an indie title. Then again, it should, since it's all trees and snow, with the occasional trip to an outhouse. That is definitely a thing. And I guess the one thing I can say, the one alive human character was unintentionally horrifying. And if you're watching a live stream right now, you could have saw him. He's a French-Canadian who wanted his caribou. Let's just say the animation rigging is not necessarily the studio's strong suit. Feet! You have feet! So hashtag bonus soda on that. I was kind of impressed. I guess graphically, what I'm trying to say, I mean, it's well done for what it is. This doesn't need to be amazeballs, spectacular, blow your eye pussies out of your head organ. No, it really doesn't. Hell, in a strange way, some of this jank kind of helps you get into that 70s Canadian mindset. Really made me want to, build a log cabin. Now, when it comes to the sounds, hey, I'm just going to be honest here. I took my headphones off after about 30 minutes since that narrator bored the living fuck and all out of me and basically provided useless information. But at the end of the day there, take that shot. 3 more chairs.
Yeah, you know what? I like the narrator's buttery smooth Peter Cullen-esque voice giving the noir-esque reads of the scenario. Oh, well, looks like this guy's baking crazy booze in his still or whatever. I don't know. I like the sound of the guy's voice. He tends to drone on a little much. And I can dig the 70s rustic aesthetic, and it works with the film grain effect. And Ben brought this up, and now I just can't unsee it anymore. It's the Quentin Tarantino, Marvel Civil War, blocky yellow 70s font from like every single Grindhouse pick ever. It's everywhere, and it's a little out of place. And I mean, as for the scenery itself, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of racist. White everywhere. But I mean, it does a good enough job of illustrating.
Wouldn't that make the scenery privileged?
It can be racist and privileged.
Sweet.
They're not mutually exclusive. Yeah, I mean, visually it looks all right. There's some stock Unity stuff in there, and a lot of it is just snow, right? So it's not going to be blowing your mind all that much. And the soundtrack smacks of like your Twin Peaks, Stranger Things, Eerie, Indiana, Friday the 13th, the series type ooky spooky boop 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 on the electric keyboard or the electric piano or whatever. It works all right for the mood. It does a decent enough job, especially for an indie Canadian title. So I can give it 3 chairs. It didn't look terrible at all.
It actually looked all right. I mean, outside of that old man in the log cabin, but yeah, no, outside
it's Maddie. I swear, it's Maddie.
I mean, to avoid spoilers, this sentence isn't going to make a whole lot of sense if you haven't played the game, but outside of the thing at the end when your character does a thing while another thing tries to do a thing that you don't want any part of, it does look very much all right. What really shines here is the background noise, not the music. That got muted since it managed to take away any form of suspense from certain situations, which would have benefited greatly from, just that teeny tiny little bit of tension. My PSA for those, learn how to music or, just don't. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
Well, that's 3 chairs for the Shiny and the Sounds. How about controls, Ben?
Wicked quick, WASD plus gerbil, no complaints, and granted the X-Clone controller. It worked, but that shit don't fly in first person at LGC Actual. Yeah. I'm not going to say everything's logically laid out on the keyboard, but what you use often and regular, it's there with the occasional trip over to the journal, which is just a hot fucking mess of, like, make sure you read the journal.
Controller-oriented menu.
Yeah, it's got the circled menu of Skyrim going, fuck. All right. Anyway, you get used to it. Nothing to complain about. I would really have to be like, angry at this game, which I'm not, so I'm going to throw a solid 4.
Yeah, I mean the whole document system too is really poorly designed because it took me a while to figure out like, oh, if I just click on the thing, this takes me to some random page. I can't actually read it like a book. And when because I recently did the snowmobile puzzle, trying to pull up those guides to remember where the fuck everything was is really annoying because you got to go in your inventory and then you got to click on documents and then you got to go through the friggin' spinny wheel until you find where the stupid plans are, and it's not fun. But that is a minor nitpick. I played a bit of it with the DualShock 4 controller, and aside from not having the correct button prompts, Unity, I'm looking at you, that's entirely your fault. No real issues. But yeah, I mostly played it with the Waz plus the mouse. No real issues. I'll give it 4 chairs. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I have absolutely no complaints either. And a Unity game with a sensitive slider that actually works. It's always good to see. I mean, it's sort of expected behavior at this point, but it didn't work for a long, long time, and I'm very picky about my mouse sensitivity. So, 4 chairs.
I guess, Pedro, you could say it's been a long time getting from there to here. But yeah, that's 4 chairs for controls. Up next is fun. And did you have fun playing Kona?
Oh, finally, a subjective point. This game starts out with lies. I mean, are you trying to tell me a Canadian would be traveling about in fuck all nowhere without winter gear at the ready? Nay. Canadians don't take a shit without having a heavy coat and gloves nearby, son. Regardless.
That's a lie.
You're stuck in a town and given no direction, which I kind of like. I like games that just drop you in and say, have at. Little sandboxy, really little sandbox. Here's your goal. You want to stay warm, don't get stressed out, and you got to spool up your kleptomania drive while trying to figure out, hey, what's going on? I mean, and by the way, I was kind of curious because you have the meters there for your warmness and your stress, but what's the point of having those cold and stress meters if Captain Canuck doesn't need to eat or sleep? Because he don't. Then again, I'd probably hate the game if those mechanics were included, so that's, yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag on that one. I guess at the end of the day, if you had to really kind of describe this, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt with a few puzzles thrown in to keep it out of the walking simulator category. And if you can power through, let's say, the first 2.5 or 3 hours, the story genuinely gets wicked interesting. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And, you know, I wanted to give this game 2 chairs with an Astro or an Astrid, mainly due to the price, until I discovered something. Turns out, you smoke in the game. There's cigarettes. And if you chain smoke all of your cigarettes, it will kill the guy. And I've always, after 5 years of doing this show, always wanted to know what it felt like to kill a Canadian. 3 fucking chairs for that game. Thank you. It was good for me. I hope it was good for you.
Yeah, the most of the murder I've committed in this game was I bludgeoned a wolf to death with a hammer. That was the highlight of my day. But really, this game is an interesting comparison to that other one that I reviewed. I wasn't here last week to review Entropy. That was empty. But Lifeless Platter, because if you think about it, the games are really similar. You're thrown into a strange, hostile environment with little information. Things don't make sense. And you gotta find things, put it together, solve some puzzles along the way, and try not to die. And Kona actually does that sort of genre a lot better. The heat and warmth and mental stress thing actually has an impact on the game. There is a limit to how far you can go without specific waypoints being active, which is better than, say, Lifeless Planet, where the oxygen meter is like, oh, hey, we need you to go in this direction really quickly, so we're just going to arbitrarily say that you're running out of air. Plus, you know, there's no stupid bullshit platforming segments. But the thing that I always don't like about these sort of scavenger hunty games is I'll think I'll do a good job of clearing everything out, and then I'll realize later on that I have missed 1 or 2 very critical pieces of equipment that I need, and I need to go all the way back. And driving in this game is not particularly fun, especially when you have to look back and forth with the map and half your field of vision is taken away. And just going over areas with fine-tooth combs. The icon for things you can interact with weird me out sometimes because it's white, which means it blends in with the snow, which means it's really easy to miss some things. Like, I got through until I absolutely needed the crowbar, and I'm like, shit, was I supposed to get that?
Oh, yeah.
I need a gas can too? Where the hell was that? And so I had to backtrack and go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. And that is not really fun for me. The story is interesting. I like noir mystery stories, so it has that going for it. And it's good looking. So if you're a fan of these sort of marathon, walkathon, find all the thing type games, you might enjoy it. Or if you're interested in supporting Canadian content, my tax dollars paid for this game because it got an arts grant. So you're welcome. I'm going to take credit for the entire thing. Absolutely, 100%. but except for the score, it's entirely the developer's fault. Once again, this is a well done one of these types of games, but they don't really do anything for me. The best I can do for you, Brad, is 2 chairs.
There is definitely a mix of genres here. And the whole thing put together sort of kind of works. This is the game you'd get if you threw Silent Hill Shattered Memories, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, and The Long Dark into an ice blender. From Shattered Memories, you get the need to photograph everything and the general spooky sort of atmosphere. From Ethan Carter, you get the sense of not knowing what the fuck's going on or where you need to go next, as well as the whole detective sense. And from The Long Dark, you get the setting, hey, Canada, the survival elements, and the wolves just being big fat douchebags. But when you do turn on that particular Canadian ice blender, all you end up with is a game with a contrived story, because I played all the way through it, so I would know, which leans on the supernatural crutch a bit too much. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but you either need to set up a story right from the get-go in which that works, or you'll end up with people like me asking, how the fuck does that person do that thing? How does that happen? And don't give me the bullshit about the local lore. That was very much shoehorned in to justify what you did with the story, and it was pretty terrible, if you ask me. And now I can already hear some of you saying, but Pedro, why are you complaining about the story? Aren't you the one who says the mechanics are the most important thing in a video game? Yes, I am, but all of the mechanics in Kona have been done before, and I didn't exactly enjoy any of those other games either. They're tolerable at best, as is Kona. So I was looking at the story as it being, the saving grace for this particular occasion. I didn't see it. 2 chairs.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's 2 chairs for fun. We tally all this nonsense up, and we get 3 chairs for the final score. So, final thoughts.
Well, all right. Oh no, my hood is coming off. They'll figure out my secret identity. Probably not. Is this a bad game? No.
Oh.
No, it's not. It's not. Well, we have here, it's a good little mystery story with a dash of the ooky spooky mixed in for effect. It's clearly done by a studio that cared about it. It was. They're Canadians. Most of the Canadians are nice. Jordan is, he's not a regular Canadian. They cared about the game, just not the Linux port. They're better looking, more complex Unity titles on Linux, made by smaller teams on a shoestring to non-existent budget that, performance-wise, runs circles around Kona. Yeah, I would drag out Survive the Distance Whipping Boy and be like, hey, these kids are 4 years out of uni, all right? And if that game drops below 130, I'm like, what the hell? So, yeah, there's that. With the $19.99 What Stinky price tag, that's a tough sell. I don't know exactly how this ends, but I've already read in the forums that it's oh, yeah, they probably want to make more. And unless this thing gets back up to 60 frames, because 35 to 60, it's just, don't tap Unity. For the love of flying spaghetti monster, when they hit to fart out the Linux port, put up a big blinking screen. Is this is step 1. This is step 1. This is not baked. Don't populate your repos with this build.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad game. It had a good atmosphere after you muted the music. It had an interesting mystery until they started to use the supernatural, not just as a crutch, but as the entire fucking final part of the fucking game. It could have been done so much better. Come on.
Yeah, it seems like it was reasonably well done. There's no real huge technical issues aside from, the performance under Linux. The story is all right. And personally for me, the gameplay just doesn't really appeal to me all that much. But if you're into it, maybe check it out. You got 3 chairs, so it can't be all that bad.